Hey, welcome back. I'm Todd Smith with another video teaching you how to make money and achieve financial freedom with real estate investing. Over the years, I've been blessed to teach tens of thousands of investors from newbies to millionaires, so I know I can help you too. But before we get into today's topic, if you haven't done so already, I just want to remind you to check out my free 90-minute online training class about how to buy houses without cash or credit at realestateCashflowSecrets.com. I'll put that link and maybe some other resources in the description for this video. If you're watching this video on YouTube, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button below this video. And for some reason, YouTube made it harder. So after you hit subscribe, you got to hit the bell and then you got to hit all to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the money-making information that I have to share with you, because I do upload videos regularly. Fair enough? All right, let's get started. In this video, I want to talk about how to find private lenders for your real estate investing, and also why I'm not a fan of private lender lists from gurus. A lot of real estate gurus are selling private lender lists and access to private lender lists, and I'm going to explain why I'm not a fan of that. So first, let's talk about what private money is. Private money is money that you as a real estate investor want to borrow from private individuals. So you're borrowing money from just regular everyday people. Busy professionals are the best group to target. People that are doctors, people that are accountants, people that are engineers, people that are executives or middle managers, or just busy professionals. People that they spend a lot of hours on their job. They have no interest in being an active real estate investor, and they make a lot of income, and they have some money that they need to invest, and that they have money that they're getting very low rates of return right now because they have money sitting in the bank that's not doing much for them. These are the kind of people that would shop around for banks with the highest CD rates, those kind of people. These are the kind of people that are your ideal targets. Again, that's why it's called private money, because they're just private individuals. They're people that they're not in the business of loaning money like a bank institution or a hard money lender or anything like that. They're just regular everyday people that you convert into basically becoming your private lenders and your personal bank. So those are the kind of people that I want you to target. Now, they could be other real estate investors. They could be other business owners that maybe have some money where they're making a high return, but they also have some other money that's not making a high return, that's just sitting around the bank. And you'll find that a lot of people who do make a lot of money and they do get high returns on their investments, they still have some money that's sitting around at embarrassing low interest rates in the bank. So these are the kind of people that I want you to target. They have some money sitting around low interest rates in the bank. Now, they could also be somebody that maybe they left a job some time ago, so they have a new job now, and they have a 401k sitting just dormant at their old company. Or they could be somebody who's retired that has a dormant 401k sitting at an old job that they never did anything with. Maybe they forgot about it and they just get the monthly statements. They don't know what to do with it. So you can take that old 401k and have them transfer that. You have to do some education here in order to let them know that they can transfer that old 401k or an IRA that they have that's getting a low interest rate, or 401k that's not doing very well. They can transfer that 401k or that IRA to a third-party custodian known as a self-directed IRA custodian. And once they get it with the self-directed IRA custodian, then they can actually use that for real estate investments and to make loans on real estate. A lot of people don't know that, and most IRA custodians that people are familiar with are banks and securities companies. And those companies are not set up to allow people to do real estate investing or real estate related type investments, nor would they want to, because their business is to sell stock market instruments, also known as securities. That's what they're in business for. They're not in business to help you facilitate real estate transactions. But a self-directed IRA custodian can definitely facilitate that, and that's what they're in business to do. You can Google self-directed IRA custodians and you'll get a list, and you just need to check them out and see which companies that you are comfortable with, and check out their rates, their rate structure, and do they charge by transaction, do they just charge annually, and so on and so forth. So those are the kind of things you want to check out. So now let's talk about buying private lender lists from real estate gurus. So I'm not a big fan of buying private lender lists because, again, I told you, I want you to target people who are not in the business of loaning money. So real estate gurus are selling lists of private lenders, which means these people have it's already on public record that they've loaned money to other investors. So this would be, I wouldn't totally rule it out, but this would be my very, very last resort at getting money, because when you go out and do as I've instructed you, and you cultivate busy professionals, people that have money sitting around the bank at embarrassing low interest rates, you can make them a better investment by offering them a higher rate than what they're getting at the bank. But when you're dealing with somebody who's on public record as loaning money to real estate investors, and now they're on a guru list, that means when they're on a guru list, a ton of investors are going to start contacting them, right? So what's going to happen? Maybe that first loan they did was at a very low rate, but guess what? Now that due to supply and demand, now that people are contacting them from all these lists, now that that demand goes up, and guess what's going to happen to their rates and their terms? Their rates are going to get higher, and their terms are going to get harder to deal with. So typically, when I'm borrowing on a private loan, I want to get that loan for a 5-year term, which means I have to pay the loan off sometime during 5 years. So it's not like a 20-year, 30-year loan typically from a private investor, because it has to be a short enough time frame to keep their interest and to increase the likelihoods that they're going to loan you the money. However, the time frame shouldn't be so short. Like a lot of investors, they just want to borrow money. Hey man, let me just borrow this money for a few months or 30 days or something like that, and I'm sure I can get this deal turned around. For lack of a better term, that's a rookie mistake. And a lot of businesses have gone under because they borrowed short-term money. In the commercial world, that's called commercial notes. And these commercial notes become due and payable very quickly a lot of times, and then the whole business collapses because they were dependent on this commercial note money. So in our world, it relates to people trying to borrow money for short-term because they're just so sure that they're going to get the house turned around. But guess what? Real estate investing, as lucrative as it is and as lucrative as it has been for me, hey, it's still a business, and Murphy's Law still applies. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And usually, although I've been very successful, things haven't been easy. And things typically don't work as well and as easy as they do in seminar land. Okay, in seminar land, everything works perfect, right? All the sellers are motivated, all the buyers have cash, and all the buyers want the houses that you have, and all the tenants want the houses that you have, and nobody ever gets evicted or anything like that, okay? So in real life, we have to account for problems. So if you borrow money from a private investor for 5 years at rates that are higher than bank rates but low enough to give you a good cash flow, you have so many options available to you. You can fix the house up and resell it, and you don't have to worry about having to make exorbitantly high payments to some bank or some hard money lender, because you've got a very low interest rate with your private lender. You can rent the property out. So let's say you try to sell it, and guess what? Hey, maybe the property doesn't sell for whatever reason. Then you can just simply rent that property out, because why? You've got a low payment structure, so that you know that the property is going to cash flow. And you're not pressed for time, like, oh man, I gotta get this house sold in 90 days because that's what I promised my lender. No, you've got a 5-year loan. So you've got time to move somebody in that property, rent the property out. You've got time to do a lease option where you can give your tenant the option to buy the house. So you've got, and you've got time to replace people on a lease with option to buy. So let's say I give somebody a 1 to 2 year lease option to buy. I can replace that person 2, 3, 4 times during the course of that 5 years if the first 2 or 3 people don't work out. So you just have a lot of flexibility, and it's a lot easier to sleep at night when you're not worried about, oh man, I gotta get this loan paid off. So again, I'm looking for 5-year terms. Now, when you're dealing with these private lenders that are on public record, that these gurus are selling on their lists, you know, very likely they're getting contacted by, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 investors, right? So maybe that first loan they started out, maybe they did 5 years. You know, by that 10th loan, hey, guess what? Now instead of loaning money at, let's say, 6%, now they want to loan at 12, 15, 18%, okay? And now instead of 5 years, maybe they want to do a year, maybe they want to do 6 months, and maybe they want to start charging points. Well, point is a percentage of the loan amount. So on a $100,000 loan,
1% would be $1,000. So 5 points would be $5,000, and that's money paid right up front, just like banks and hard money lenders do. They charge you money up front and add that to the loan, or you got to come to the table with that money. That's not the world I live in. That's not desirable for me. All right. So what I want you guys to be able to do is put yourself in a position to borrow money at the lowest rates possible, while still giving your private lender what they want, which is a higher interest rate than what they can get at the bank. And I want you to get the lowest rates, the easiest terms possible. What I do, I like to offer them a lower rate if they want monthly payments, and then a slightly higher rate if they're willing to not take monthly payments. And it makes sense because, first of all, any money that I'm borrowing from a private lender should be money that they do not need. They don't foresee themselves needing in the next 5 years, right? So I don't want them loaning me their life savings or anything like that they might need. Hey, if they have an emergency, they might need to grab the money in 2 years and say, hey, Todd, I need my money back, okay? And there are investors out there that will say, hey, if you need your money back, no problem, we guarantee we'll pay back. That's not a good thing. First of all, legally, it's not the right thing to do to guarantee somebody that you can pay them their money back anytime that they ask, if they need it earlier. That's not a good thing to do legally, because it starts to build a house of cards. Because what if you don't have that money and you've made this person a guarantee that they can get their money back anytime they want? So that implies that you can just easily find a private lender to replace them. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, okay? So you may be able to tell them that there's a good chance, hey, if you need your money earlier, there's a good chance that somebody will be willing to come in and step in your shoes and get a higher interest rate on their money as well. But what I'm telling you is that it's not something that you should guarantee anybody, okay? You can get in trouble with the SEC for doing that. So now I've told you where, I'm not a fan of you trying to find private lenders. So where would you find private lenders? The reality is you just need to put yourself in position where people ask you, what do you do for a living? So instead of saying whatever your job is, or even saying I'm a real estate investor, you get in the habit of saying, now, this is $1 million idea, and a lot of you guys are not going to use it. But the ones of you who use this and master this, you're going to get a lot of private money. And when you do that, I want you to come back and give me a testimonial. I want you to send me a video testimonial, and I also want you to start posting in my groups and on my videos and let people know, hey, I follow Todd's advice and it worked for me. So do not take this lightly. It's going to sound very simple, but do not take this lightly. First of all, you want to get used to when people ask you what you do for a living, instead of saying what you normally would say, you start saying this: I help people get higher returns on their money than what they can get at the bank. And just shut up after that. And give them a chance to see if they're going to, because that's going to pique curiosity in them, and then you see what they say. So again, what do you do for a living? I help people get higher returns on their money than what they can get at the bank. And a lot of people are going to say, how do you do that? And then that's when you explain to them, I buy houses at deep discounts, and a lot of times when I do that, I borrow money from private individuals like you. And again, you shut up and see what they say. So basically, I'm never asking anybody for their money, okay? First of all, I know how to invest without cash at all, so I don't need their money in the first place. And that's a position I want you to be in. I want you to be in put yourself in a position where you have the knowledge to invest with or without cash. So I'm never using my own cash, and I don't need cash at all. But if I'm going to use cash, which I would use if I'm going to buy and fix up a house, or maybe, let's say I'm going to purchase a bank-owned property, and maybe I'm not going to fix it up. Maybe I'm going to buy it for wholesaling purposes, where I'm going to sell it without fixing it up. Or maybe I want to keep my options open, right? Because with private money, like I said, it allows you to keep your options open. Now I can buy this property and I don't have to wholesale it. I can fix it up if I want to, or I can rent it out if I want to. I can fix it up and rent it out, or I can fix it up and sell it, all right? So private money increases your options on certain deals. Also, I can borrow private money if I ever needed to, which I've never done, but I could do if I needed to. I could borrow private money to use a down payment on a property, especially a more expensive property, right? So let's say I'm dealing with a $400,000 house and the seller wants $20,000 down. Now, I know that I can get $40,000 from a tenant buyer, but let's say the seller wants $20,000 down. So instead of walking away from that $20,000 deal because it requires $20,000, I can say, okay, yeah, I'll do that for you and I'll get a private lender, okay? A lot of times maybe I'll walk away from that deal, or maybe I'll take them up on the deal because I know I'm going to get $40,000 anyway. But the difference is I know that if I can do that deal without having to put the $20,000 down and I get $40,000 from my tenant buyer, right, then I get to keep the whole $40,000, right? But obviously, either way, you're going to come out ahead. So when I'm structuring a deal, it's not really how can I lose, it's like which way do I win, okay? You could borrow $20,000 from a private lender on that deal, collect $40,000 from your buyer, take $20,000 and pay off your private lender, and then you've still got $20,000 in your bank account. So you just want to put yourself in position as much as possible in situations where people are naturally going to ask you what you do for a living. So what kind of situations are those? Obviously, those are situations where you're meeting new people, okay? So how do you meet new people? All right, they got this thing on the internet called meetup.com, all right? It kind of suggests that you're going to meet new people there at these meetups, right? You go on meetup.com, you look for groups that have similar interests, like say maybe you're into cooking, all right? So maybe you go hook up with a cooking group, or maybe you're into motivation. Maybe there's a motivational group, or maybe there's a yoga group, or maybe there's I'm a salsa dancer, maybe there's a salsa dancing group or a ballroom dancing group. Maybe there's a singles mixer or some kind of business networking group. That's the best place, right? Because going to business networking group, everybody's there to talk about what they do for a living, and everybody's there to ask you what you do for a living, right? Because people are looking to connect, they're looking to network. So any kind of networking groups. So go on meetup.com, look for networking groups. Also, there's this thing on the internet called Google. So I'd start out with meetup.com and look for specific groups of interest, right? Because, hey, if it's a type of thing that you're interested in, you're going to go there, and even if you don't get a private lender, you'll still enjoy yourself, right? So yeah, Google different networking groups or different groups of interest in your area. There may be groups outside of meetup.com. Also, there's another thing on the internet called Facebook, right? So you go on Facebook, you look for, again, groups of similar interests. And a lot of times your Facebook groups, right, they don't have to be local to you at all. And obviously any groups online you find don't have to be local to you. But the thing with Meetup is typically local. So it is cool if you can get out and actually meet people in person, but you don't have to. You may see some people on Facebook, and then you get in these groups, and eventually people ask you what you do for a living. But in person, it's a much higher likelihood that somebody's going to ask you what you do for a living than it is online. And remember, I don't want you out there making people think that you're asking them for their money. I want people to be in a position where they're going to ask you, what do you do? And then you explain to them what you do, okay? Now, there's obviously nothing preventing you from putting banners or images or text on Facebook or anywhere online, any social media that you use that says that you offer people higher rates of return than what they can get at the bank. All right, so that's another way. You can put it out there just on your social media or your email taglines or whatever, and just start letting people know that, hey, you pay people higher rates of return than what they can get at the bank. What I don't want you to do, I don't want you to really name interest rates. The SEC has this thing called a three-touch rule. Before you actually ask anybody for money or discuss specific terms about them loaning you money, if you don't know them, you need to have 3 contacts with them. So what could that 3 contacts be? 3 contacts could be including email, could be a voice message, it could be a text, all right? But you want to have 3 contacts with them before you actually discuss specific details of a loan. Again, that's called the SEC 3-touch rule. Now, if you already know them, if you know these people, there's no problem. You can talk to them. You could sit down that first day if they're ready to do business and loan you money. But really, that's not really how it normally happens anyway. There's a cultivation process of somebody feeling comfortable to loan you money. It doesn't matter whether it's your mom, your dad, your best friend, or somebody you've never even met and you're going to meet tonight at this networking group, all right? Whoever it is, you need to be able to educate them a little bit about what you're trying to do, and obviously make sure that you can help them. And the way that you're going to help them is you're going to give them a higher rate of return than what they can get at the bank. Now, I've had conversations like this. Somebody says, oh, you're offering X%. Oh, man, I'm making 5 times that on my investments. And I say, you know what? I totally get it. And I say, well, what I found is that usually people who are making a lot of money and getting a high return in one area, they usually have some other money that's sitting around in the bank not making a high return. or sitting around somewhere that's not making a high return. And if you were going to loan me money, that's the money that I would want you to loan me. Obviously, I wouldn't want you to loan me money that you're already making a super high return at right now, but usually those people will stash that money somewhere that's making a low return. So if you got a sufficient amount of money sitting at a low return, that's the money that we would target for private lending. Does that make sense? How does that sound? You end with, does that make sense? How does that sound? And you leave the ball in their court at that point. So again, I'm never asking anybody for their money, really. I'm just letting them know how I can maybe help them if they fit this criteria. If they have money sitting around at low bank rates, then I can get them a higher return than what they're making at their bank. And then I let them know what I do, and then they end up asking me how they can get involved. All right, so now let me share a story with you. So one of my very successful students, Michael Paul Newman, you may have seen some of his testimonial videos. He followed my advice one time, and he went out to a meetup group, and they were just sitting around at a table in a circle talking about what they did for a living. And as soon as he started talking about what he did for a living, which was real estate investing, everybody just was quiet and they started listening to him. And then it so happened, and he talked about private lending a little bit, and the lady sitting next to him, she was highly paid. She was a busy professional. She's a busy professional, and she was about to go spend a lot of money that, without having a lot of knowledge, she was about to go buy a property at sheriff's auction for like $165,000, and she really didn't know what she was doing because she didn't have the proper education. And Michael, my student, was able to, he just basically shared his knowledge and helped her a little bit and steered her in a better direction, explained to her that, hey, in our area, she can do a lot better on her deals and buy several properties that she can make a lot more money, because she was going to buy this $165,000 property and use it as a rental property. And in our area, that she could do a lot better buying several cheaper properties for rental properties. So what ended up happening, because he freely shared his knowledge with her without any agenda, and we ended up wholesaling her about 3 properties, and then she became not only his private lender, but she became his business partner, funding all of his deals. So that was awesome. So he followed my advice one time, and I always kid with him. I said, man, just think if you had followed my advice twice or 5 or 10 times. So if he's watching this video, Mike, I hope you get a little chuckle out of that. Anyway, he's doing very well. He's doing very well. So anyway, so I wanted to close with that story to let you guys know that this stuff really does work, but it only works if you follow my advice. All right? So let's get out there, cultivate some private lenders, start changing your vocabulary and your vernacular on how you talk to these people, and before you know it, you'll have some serious money coming your way. And when you do, I want you to give me a testimonial. All right?
Hey, thanks again for watching, and don't forget to check out any additional resources that I might have for you in the description section of this video. If you like this video, then show me some love with a heart on Facebook or a thumbs up on YouTube, and leave a comment below to let me know how the video helped you. If you have any real estate investing questions, go ahead and write those in the comments below, and it just may become the topic of my next video. And if you know anybody else that might benefit from this video, then go ahead and share it. Be sure to check out my upcoming videos, and until next time, may all your parents have rich children, and may all your children have rich parents.